So here's a video from RFK Jr. It says enough is enough. It's about the chemicals they like to put in our food. Things you wouldn't even think of, like yellow number 5, which is in mac and cheese, banana peppers, basically everything that has yellow in it. And then blue 1. All these things causes like cancers and long-term effects, especially if you're pregnant. Like yellow 5 can cause autism in your children and several other things like that. And they're made from like petroleum products and other kind of disgusting things. But these chemicals are banned in other countries. But I'm sure RFK will explain some of that.
This is what most Americans innocently put into their bodies these days, and most alarmingly, into the bodies of their children. And it's no coincidence that Americans die earlier than Canadians or Germans or Italians or Japanese or Koreans or Australians or most any other comparable.
Notice how we got the most shit in our food, and our healthcare costs the most. Our life expectancy is the lowest. It's big, weird things that'll kind of all add up if you think about it.
Country. And it wasn't always that way. Until the early 1990s, our life expectancy was the same or better than other developed countries. Then, suddenly, more and more Americans began.
I'd like to add, they didn't start putting a lot of this shit into our food until the 1970s. Same with the fact that we were using glass instead of plastic for a long time until the 70s. Because it was cheaper. But the long-term effects of these weren't really known, and now that they're showing, I don't think they even care still, because it makes money in other places.
And suffering from chronic diseases, from obesity, cancer, diabetes, kidney disease, Alzheimer's, heart disease, and all kinds of autoimmune diseases. Our maternal mortality rate soared to the highest of any developed country on earth. Same with infant mortality. Like the frog in the slowly boiling water, we didn't really notice as we got sicker and sicker. We've grown now to accept chronic disease conditions as normal. But now, in 2024, we're finally waking up to this cataclysm, and we're asking ourselves, how in the world did this happen? Well, a big part of it is our diet. Restaurants that serve contaminated food are fined or shut down. But when it's the
Another big one is we really got away from the use of like tallow, which is beef fat, and lard and stuff like that, and natural fats, and we started using a bunch of seed oils and whatnot. Which not all seed oils, I guess, are bad. I'm not sure. I haven't done all the research. I use olive oil personally, but they do cause a bunch of big problems. Can I help you? Can I help you, girl? Get down.
Government that approves the poisons in our food. A few people get very, very rich, and the toxins end up in every supermarket aisle. Let me show you what I mean. Doritos, Cheez-Its,
Another big thing, these same companies like Doritos and Captain Crunch and all that, they have natural coloring in those in other countries, but we still use all the dyes in our country. Other countries have banned this stuff because of what they cause. So that's just something to think about. Like, why doesn't anyone in our country, do something about this?
Captain Crunch, gummy bears, everyone knows that these are junk foods, so maybe you wouldn't be too surprised to see that the ingredients include a lot of poisons, including a harmful yellow dye called tetrazine or
Will you go lay down? Go lay down.
Yellow dye number 5. What you may not know is that this dye was originally made out of the sludge that's left over when
I believe
you turn
cough
coal
drops even have
into
yellow
coke
5 in it.
for blast furnaces. It's called coal tar, and I've actually sued many big industries for legacy contamination of coal tar all around the country because it's so toxic and it's so harmful to the environment and human beings. A century ago, it was just an obnoxious industrial byproduct that everybody was trying to figure out ways to get rid of. One of the ways that they did that was by paving roads. But then a British chemist figured out that the coal tar could be used to derive fabric dye. And if fabric dye, why not food? Food manufacturers began using it.
Who even thinks to do something like that? Like, clearly the only reason that they would do something like that is because it's cheaper. That's the only thing I can think of. Who just wants to put like coal tar in our daily, food consumption? That's disgusting.
to cover up the discoloration of low-quality foods that they wanted to pass off on unsuspecting customers. They didn't know back then that this yellow dye, tartrazine, causes tumors, asthma, developmental delays, neurological damage, ADD, ADHD, hormone disruption, gene damage, anxiety, depression, intestinal injuries. Well, we know it.
The big one is pregnant women. Like when they eat a bunch of this stuff, it can cause autism and things like that in their kids. That's a big one I worry about because autism has become more and more prevalent. I think it's 1 in 32 nowadays. And I don't know if it's vaccines or none of that. I don't really think that vaccines are bad. But like food is definitely a big problem, especially with how prevalent things are getting.
But now, we've known this for decades. That's why tartrazine is heavily restricted in other countries. In some countries, foods with tartrazine have a warning label that it may cause ADHD in children. Today, it's made from petroleum, not coal tar. Either way, it's crazy to add this to your kids' favorite foods. It doesn't even change the flavor. This yellow dye isn't just in junk food. It's in the foods that we consider healthy. It's in everyday kids' snacks like
olives,
popcorn,
banana peppers,
mac and cheese,
shit you wouldn't
fruit
even think
snacks.
of, man.
It's in sports drinks like Gatorade and so-called vitamin water. It's even added to chicken broth, to corn, to pickles, to mustard, and to yogurt. And so, of course, our kids get sick. And we lovingly feed them chewable vitamins, which have, surprise, tartrazine.
Yeah, big ones, the Flintstone vitamins. You know, everyone that grew up on the Flintstone vitamins, they are ate up with dyes and other chemicals they just add in there for looks, and it's just stupid, man.
And so the cycle continues until the coughs and asthma kick in, at which point you go to pick up some cough syrup. And yeah, you guessed it, tartrazine. I've been picking on tartrazine today, but that's just one of at least 100 chemical poisons that our health agencies allow into our children's food. I can make a video just like this to talk about Red 40, BHA, BHD, potassium bromate, chemical after chemical, and on and on and on. If just one of them can cause all of these problems, imagine what they're doing in combination. That has never been studied. If we took all of these chemicals out, our nation would get healthier immediately. We'd have fewer sick days. We'd have better focus. We'd have less anxiety. Our kids would learn.
Not only that, if you just quit all these today, like within a week, you would start noticing differences about how you can just feel better. And once you get them all out of your system and you go back to eating something like that again, you can feel how it makes you sick. Like, same with sugar. If you just cut out all sugar and then you went and ate some sugar, you know, after a few weeks, it would cause an upset stomach. You'd get diarrhea. It's crazy how noticeable these things are immediately, but since over time they've added it into all our foods, we don't know why we feel bad most of the time.
Learn more easily. We'd lose weight. We'd have more energy. We'd have fewer tumors and longer lives. It's not all dark. Over the past 16 years, the government has banned 8 chemical additives that cause cancer, genetic damage, asthma, and many of the other self-conditions as tartrazine does. And you know what's interesting? All 8 of those crucial steps forward in our kids' health were taken under President Trump. But the Democrats who claim to be all about health care have stood by watching other countries ban these poisons and make our kids sick, asthmatic, hyperactive, and depressed. They left them on every supermarket shelf in America. They even used your tax money to put them in your kids' school lunch. So their big food and their big ag donors probably gave them all that golden handshake and the big money hug. And their big pharma donors probably called them up and thanked them also.
Like another big one is pesticides they spray on our vegetables and all that. Like Bayer is a big one. They own a big aspirin pharmaceutical company. And they own the pesticides, Monsanto, I believe, that they spray on crops and caused cancer. They actually lost a big lawsuit over that. But it's like on everything, even the vegetables we eat.
Because now they're going to make billions selling Adderall, Prozac, and rescue inhalers. Enough is enough. President Trump and I are going to stop the mass poisoning of American children. Together, we're going to make America healthy again.
I absolutely hope this is true because it's disgusting that our country, which is supposed to be the greatest country in the world, has this big problem where we don't have any banned ingredients. Like I think we actually just banned Red 3, but we have all these chemicals still in our food and we haven't banned them, but other countries do. Like in Australia, the cereals all have natural coloring like turmeric and beet juice and all that. And I wish we would finally hop on board and do something about it. I believe a big part of it is all the donors and everything. Like even Bernie Sanders was bought out, got $1.5 million from Big Pharma. So if we don't get rid of that corruption, I don't think we can do anything about that. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'll see you next time.